Hi, I'm Lawr Michaels. I'm a managing general partner of mastersball.com. That's www.mastersball.com. My writing also appears on KFFL and USA Today every week.
I'm here with one of the founding fathers of the industry, believe it or not, Lawr Michaels. Nice to have you with us, Lawr. Let me ask you a question, my friend. How does a rock and roll music kind of a guy get into fantasy sports? Was music your first love?
Probably, but I think that was just because my parents were music lovers, so they were European, so they didn't get baseball. But I would say they both happened pretty similarly, similar time. Around 57, 58 was when I was first given my first baseball cards and was fascinated with them. And that was right around the time I heard Peggy Sue for the first time, which completely nailed me. And I've loved both ever since.
Have you managed to play in a band with Bronson Arroyo or Bernie Williams or any one of those guys?
No, I haven't. But I was at spring training a few years ago, and I was with one of the photographers from the A's, and Peter Gammons, who actually is a musician. He was down on the field at one of the parks, and he had a big crowd around him. And the photographer said, "I've been trying to get Gammons, and I can't." And I said, "I bet you I can get Gammons' attention immediately." And he went, "How much?" I said, $10. So we go down there, and there's a crowd around, and there's a pause for a minute, and I looked up and I went, "Hey, Pete, you still play that Les Paul Custom?" And he immediately looked up and we started talking guitars, so I got my $10.
And your website, masterball.com, was one of the real pioneers of fantasy websites.
Actually, it was, although my site was originally Creative Sports, and Masters Ball was started by Jason Gray, who's now a scout with Tampa, and by Todd Zola, my partner now, Todd Zola. And they went through some change. They became very successful and did a merger, and then they severed ties. Everybody went their different way, and Todd was able to retain Masters Balls. And so when we merged about 5-6 years ago, it was a question of who had a little bigger name in the industry. I just went with them. So, but yeah, we've both been around almost 20 years.
Yep, and I've known this guy for almost 20 years or more. And from where we came into the picture 20-something years ago till now, I know it surprises me at the way the industry has developed. And now we're launching on the 4th of March a fantasy sports TV network. Did you ever, in your wildest dreams, think it would get this big?
No. Well, no. I did. I mean, I knew there was something happening. It didn't occur to me that fantasy could go in the directions. I mean, I wrote a column once that there's fantasy fashion, which is basically a bunch of women who got mad at their husbands that played fantasy football and were football widows, and to get back at them, they concocted rules around designers and magazines, and the award season from the Golden Globes to the Oscars is their season, and they draft, if you have Demi Moore and she's wearing a De Laurentiis gown and on the cover of Vogue, you get 50 points or something for that. And what I thought was interesting was the woman who started it, there's like 10,000 people that do this.
Yes.
And she said it didn't make her like football anymore, but she sort of understood why her husband liked doing football. You could sort of get into it and go, oh, I can do this, or I get rewarded for that. And it changed her mindset. And I think there's something wonderful about that, and that it grows, and that we all, it's slant. You can tilt it to slant what you like, and there's something I think universal to that it kind of makes sense of a pitch for it.
Lawr Michaels and I have been doing this for over 20 years. We still have the same passion for the game. As a matter of fact, you're a scorekeeper, right? At where, at the Angel games?
No, John. Actually, I for the last 10 years, I'm probably not doing it anymore just because of demands. But I do the statistics for MLB.com for the Giants and the Athletics. I've done that for 10 years. Tracking pitches. I don't actually, not the official score, but I sit next to them, and it scares me sometimes when a play will come up and they'll look at me like, "What do you think?" It's like, I don't think you want to know what I think, but they pay you the big bucks to make the decision. But it's a really fun job, demanding, very difficult, but because you have to pay serious attention. But it's a lot of fun.
So, as one of the pioneers in this industry, and now the TV network's being launched, what do you see for the future here? What does this mean to you? Don't you feel good about what has happened, what you have been part of? Let's face it, guys. It's guys like you and some of the other guys that I've talked to today. You guys made it.
Well, you were there too, but it all seems, excuse me, it seems a little unreal that it's all grown out of this. I think it's really wonderful. What the future means to me is just there's more opportunities for everybody, and I think obviously things will shake out and it'll stabilize. But I think as with any industry, it just has to keep growing and finding new avenues so it stays vital. But I just think it's really fun, and sometimes I kind of shake my head at the luck of having been at the right place at the right time, or asking John Benson one time a question that led to this, that led to that I ended up editing a book by him that came to all this. I sort of think everybody has. It's sort of like playing the stock market or something, where you have, through the span of your life, there's opportunities that come up, and you think afterwards, God, I wish I'd done this. Well, I guess this time we grabbed for the ring and it worked.
So we have the Fantasy Sports Channel on radio, now on TV. If you got offered the Today Show on the Fantasy Sports TV channel, who would you like your female co-host to be?
I would be down with Stacey Stern, actually. I love Stacey, and she's a smart woman and funny, and we both like food and music, and she would be great.
Lawr Michaels, one of the pioneers of fantasy baseball. Nice to have you, man.
Thanks, Lenny.